The stars twinkled peacefully in the vast darkness of space. For over 500 years, the Galactic Confederation had maintained order among its 27 member species. None of them had evolved on worlds as harsh as the one the humans called Earth. On the edge of Confederation space, a Vraxian scout ship drifted silently. Its blue-skinned crew monitored sensor readings with their 4 eyes blinking in slow patterns. The ship was small, designed only to watch and report. "Captain Zoll, unknown vessel approaching from Sector 7, said the sensor operator, his voice clicking with concern. Captain Zoll moved to the screen. His species had never evolved to fight wars. No Confederation species had. Their worlds were gentle, their evolution peaceful. "Scan it," he ordered. The readings made no sense. The ship was fast, heavily armored, and carried energy signatures unlike anything in their database. Most concerning were the weapon ports along its hull. Light years away on the approaching ship, Captain Alan White sat in the command chair of the U.S. Defiant. Humanity had finally developed faster than light travel 10 years ago, and the Defiant represented their newest exploration vessel. "Any response to our greeting message?" Alan asked, rubbing his short brown beard. Communications Officer Olivia Scott shook her head. "Nothing yet, Captain. I sent it on all frequencies, using basic mathematical sequences as we planned." Commander Susan Miller, the ship's tactical officer, frowned at her console. "Captain, the alien vessel is scanning us. Their sensors are primitive by our standards, but they're focusing on our defense systems." Joe Carter, a stocky man at the weapons station, turned in his chair. "Should we raise shields? Their scans are becoming more intense." "Not yet," Alan said. "We don't want to appear hostile. This is a first contact situation. Let's be patient." Back on the Vraxian ship, panic was spreading. Their translation computers struggled with the strange signals coming from the human vessel. "It's a warning," decided the Vraxian second-in-command. "They're telling us to surrender or be destroyed." "We must alert the High Command," Captain Zoll said, his skin paling to a lighter blue. "Send emergency signals to all nearby outposts. This species appears to be highly aggressive." Before they could finish their transmission, the Defiant moved closer, attempting to establish visual communication. The Vraxians interpreted this as an attack maneuver. "They're coming for us," shouted a young crew member. Captain Zoll made a split-second decision that would change galactic history. "Fire warning shots. Drive them back." Energy beams lashed out from the Vraxian vessel, striking the Defiant's hull. Alarms blared on the human ship. "Direct hit to our forward section," Susan reported. "Minimal damage, shields holding at 95%. "What the hell?" Alan gripped his chair. "We didn't do anything threatening." Joe's fingers hovered over his console. "Captain, permission to return fire." Alan hesitated. "Defensive measures only. No direct hits to their vessel." The Defiant's shields glowed brighter as they absorbed another volley. Then the human ship fired precisely calibrated shots that disabled the Vraxians' weapons without destroying the vessel. "We're retreating," Alan announced. "Full record of this encounter to be transmitted back to Earth. Clearly, we need a different approach." As the Defiant jumped to FTL speed, the Vraxians watched in terror. Their weapons had barely scratched the human ship, while the humans had effortlessly disabled their defenses. Within hours, the Confederation received urgent messages. A new species with terrifying military capability had been encountered. Emergency sessions were called as fear spread among worlds that had never known true warfare. On the Defiant, the crew debated their next steps. "They fired first," Joe insisted. "We should return with a battle group." Susan shook her head. "It was likely a misunderstanding or fear. We appeared in their territory without warning." Captain Allen listened to both sides. "We'll report to command and let them decide. But one thing is certain. Our first contact protocols need revision." None of them realized that across the galaxy, the Confederation was already preparing for what they believed would be a war of survival against a terrifying new enemy. humanity. 3 months passed in a blur of emergency meetings. The Confederation Council, made up of representatives from all 27 species, argued endlessly about how to deal with the humans. "They are clearly dangerous," insisted the Vraxian delegate, his blue skin flushed with agitation. "Their weapons disabled our scout ship with surgical precision." The Zentari representative waved her slender, six-fingered hands. "But they did not destroy the ship when they could have. Perhaps they are not as violent as we fear." Meanwhile, Intelligence Officer Mary Johnson worked tirelessly in a small room filled with screens. Her job was to study everything they could learn about humans from the signals they had been broadcasting into space for centuries. "This isn't good," she muttered to herself. The dark-haired woman rubbed her tired eyes as she scrolled through human history. Wars, conquests, weapons that could destroy entire cities, but also art, music, and acts of incredible kindness. She filed her report. Humans evolved on a high-gravity, high-radiation planet with thousands of predators. Their entire history is marked by conflict, but also by remarkable progress through cooperation. No one in the Confederation leadership paid much attention to her observations about human cooperation. They focused only on the threat. Fleet Admiral Peter Jackson, a stern man with graying hair, ordered a battle group to intercept what sensors detected as a fleet of human ships approaching Confederation space. 5 Confederation warships, the largest military force assembled in 300 years, moved into position. On the lead ship, Communications Officer Olivia Scott frantically worked to improve the translation systems. "Admiral," she said, "I believe the humans are trying to send us peace messages. Our translators weren't calibrated correctly during the first encounter." Admiral Jackson frowned. "Are you certain?" Before she could answer, a junior officer interrupted. "Sir, our long-range scans show the human fleet is mostly research vessels with only 2 military escorts. A scientific expedition." The Admiral wondered. On the bridge of the human flagship U.S. Valiant, Admiral Frank Thompson received troubling news. "Sir, the alien fleet is taking an aggressive formation," reported his tactical officer. "They appear to be charging weapons." Admiral Thompson straightened his uniform. "Send the peace message again. All frequencies, all formats." "They're not responding." "Sir." "Maintain course. Shields up, but weapons powered down. Let's show them we mean no harm." The tension grew as the fleets approached each other. On the smallest Confederation ship, a young Xanthi commander named Rel watched the human vessels with mounting fear. His species was known for quick, emotional decisions. "Look at those weapon ports," Rel said, trembling. "They must be preparing to fire." Without authorization, he gave the order. "Fire, before they kill us all." Energy beams shot from the Xanthi ship, striking the lead human vessel. Within seconds, the situation spiraled out of control as other Confederation ships followed Rel's lead. Admiral Thompson's bridge erupted in chaos as alarms blared. "We've been hit," shouted the damage control officer. "Minor damage to our port side." Thompson's face hardened. "So much for peace. Defensive positions. Return fire only if directly threatened." For 20 tense minutes, the human ships absorbed punishment while responding with minimal force. Finally, when 3 human crew members died from a lucky hit, Thompson had enough. "Target the 3 most aggressive ships," he ordered. "Disable only. I want them alive to talk to." The Valiant's weapons lit up the darkness of space. 3 Confederation vessels suddenly found themselves dead in space, their engines and weapon systems destroyed with frightening precision. "All ships, withdraw," Thompson ordered. "We've made our point." As the human fleet retreated, the message was clear. They could have destroyed the entire Confederation force, but chose restraint. In the Confederation Council chamber, panic spread as reports arrived. "The humans will return," warned the Vraxian leader, "and next time, they won't show mercy." In the back of the room, Mary Johnson shook her head sadly. No one had listened to her report about human complexity. Now they were preparing for a war that neither side truly wanted. The grand meeting hall of the Confederation Council buzzed with fearful voices. Representatives from all 27 species gathered under the soft purple light of the chamber. Many had traveled for days to attend this emergency session. "We face extinction," cried the Vraxian High Commander, his blue skin almost white with fear. "These humans disabled 3 of our best ships without effort." The Zentari Elder raised her 6-fingered hand for silence. "We must not rush to judgment. The humans have not invaded our worlds despite having the chance." From the back of the room, a small figure moved forward. Dr. Leela Brown was the only human who had lived among the Confederation before first contact. For years, she had studied alien cultures, learning their ways and languages. "If I may speak," she said quietly. The room fell silent. "I understand humans better than anyone here. We are dangerous when threatened, yes, but we prefer peace when offered respect." Laughter rippled through the chamber. "Respect? For warmongers?" asked a tall Quertan representative. "Your ships carry enough weapons to destroy our worlds." "We evolved on a harsh planet," Leela explained. "Earth has higher gravity, more radiation, and deadly predators. We built weapons to survive, not to conquer." The council president banged his gavel. "Enough. The human speaks pretty words, but their actions show aggression. We must prepare for war." Far away on Earth, another heated meeting took place in a sleek conference room. President Eric Nelson looked tired as he listened to his advisors argue. "They fired on us twice," Defense Secretary Laura Davis said firmly. "They cannot be trusted." William Green, the chief diplomat, shook his head. "Misunderstandings, not malice. Their species have no concept of war as we do. They're terrified of us." President Nelson rubbed his temples. "Options. Deploy the 7th Fleet," Laura suggested. "Show enough force that they won't dare attack again. Or send a peace delegation," William countered. "1 ship, minimal weapons." After hours of debate, President Nelson made his decision. "We'll do both. Deploy the 7th Fleet, including the new U.S. Intrepid. But they go in peace unless attacked." 2 days later, Captain John Martinez stood on the bridge of the U.S. Intrepid, humanity's newest and most powerful warship. At 42, his dark hair showed touches of gray at the temples, matching his serious gray eyes. "Status report," he ordered. "All systems green, Captain," responded his second-in-command. "The fleet is ready to depart." Martinez looked at the main screen where Earth appeared as a beautiful blue marble. He had special orders directly from the president. Demonstrate human military might if necessary, but prioritize peace if possible. This mission could determine the future of human-alien relations for centuries, he told his crew. "We represent not just our government, but our entire species." In her lab aboard the Intrepid, Dr. Kate Wilson studied alien biology reports. The slender scientist with short blonde hair had a theory. "Look at this," she told her assistant. "The Confederation species all evolved on low-gravity planets with minimal radiation and few predators. Their biology is different from ours at the cellular level." "What does that mean?" her assistant asked. "It means they never needed to develop the aggression or physical resilience the humans have. They literally cannot understand us because their evolution took a completely different path." Meanwhile, Colonel Steve Baker prepared his Marines for possible action. The tall, broad-shouldered officer watched his troops train in the ship's gymnasium. "Remember," he told them, "we're not going there looking for a fight. But if one starts, we finish it." As the Intrepid and the rest of the 7th Fleet prepared to depart, Captain Martinez received his final orders from Fleet Command. "You carry the hopes of humanity," Admiral Jackson told him via secure channel, "and potentially, the fate of 2 civilizations." Martinez nodded solemnly. "We won't let you down, sir." With a flash of energy, the human fleet disappeared into the darkness of space, heading toward a confrontation that would change the galaxy forever. Life aboard the U.S. Intrepid settled into a rhythm during the long journey to Confederation space. The massive warship hummed with activity as over 1,000 crew members went about their duties. In the mess hall, a group of officers gathered around a table, trays of food before them. "What do we actually know about these aliens?" asked Lieutenant Sam Cooper, the ship's lead engineer. His fingers tapped nervously on the table. Dr. Kate Wilson looked up from her tablet. "They're physically weaker than us. Lower muscle density, thinner bones. Their home planets have about 70% of Earth's gravity. Easy targets," muttered a young Marine. Colonel Steve Baker shot the Marine a stern look. "They're not targets. They're potential allies who don't understand us." Daniel Gray, the communications specialist, nodded in agreement. His dark skin contrasted with his white uniform as he leaned forward. "Their languages are complex, but logical. The problem is cultural context, not vocabulary." Sam took a bite of his sandwich. "Still doesn't explain why they attacked us twice." "Fear," Kate said simply. "Imagine meeting a species that evolved on a world so harsh it would kill most Confederation beings in minutes. To them, we're monsters from a nightmare planet." On the bridge, Captain Martinez studied star charts with his second-in-command. The captain's serious eyes analyzed possible approach routes to Confederation space. "Athena, run simulation Delta 7 again," he ordered. The ship's artificial intelligence responded in a calm female voice. "Running simulation. Probability of peaceful resolution, 43%. Probability of minor conflict, 37%. Probability of full-scale war, 20%. Martinez frowned. "Not good enough. What if we approach through the Centauri corridor instead of directly?" "Recalculating," Athena replied. "Peaceful resolution probability increases to 51%. "That's our route then," Martinez decided. Deep in the ship, in a large training room, Colonel Baker watched his Marines practice non-lethal combat techniques. The men and women moved in careful patterns, learning how to subdue without killing. "Why are we practicing this soft stuff?" complained one Marine. "If they start shooting, we should shoot back." Baker's voice was calm but firm. "Because our job isn't just to win fights. It's to make sure fights don't happen unless absolutely necessary." In her lab, Dr. Wilson studied tissue samples from the one Confederation being humans had encountered peacefully, a trader who had visited Earth briefly before first contact went wrong. "Their cellular structure is fascinating," she told her assistant. "They evolved in environments with minimal radiation, so they never developed our cellular repair mechanisms." "What does that mean in simple terms?" the assistant asked. "It means what's merely harmful to us could be deadly to them. And what's deadly to us might be instantly fatal to them." In engineering, Sam Cooper and his team made final adjustments to the ship's shield systems. "The modifications are complete," Sam reported to the captain via comlink. "Shields can now be calibrated to different energy frequencies. We can defend against their weapons without appearing aggressive." "Good work," Martinez replied. In his private quarters, Martinez recorded a personal log. "Day 17 of our journey. The crew is prepared, but tension runs high. We're approaching a civilization that fears us based on misunderstanding. Our goal is peace, but we're arriving in a warship because there was no other choice." He paused, looking at a photo of his family. "I keep thinking about first contact scenarios from our own history. When technologically advanced societies met less advanced ones on Earth, it rarely ended well for the less advanced. Now we're the advanced ones. I hope we've learned from our mistakes." As the day cycle ended, the lights dimmed throughout the ship. In the observation lounge, off-duty crew gathered to look at the stars streaking by. "We'll be there tomorrow," Daniel Gray said quietly. "What do you think will happen?" asked a young crew member. Daniel thought for a moment. "That depends on whether they're willing to listen before they shoot." As the human fleet traveled closer to its destination, the Confederation prepared for what they believed would be the fight of their lives. The Confederation fleet gathered at Nexus Point, a strategic location where 5 major space lanes connected. 100 ships formed a defensive wall in space, It was the largest military force assembled in Confederation history. Fleet Commander Zartek of the Vraxians paced the bridge of his flagship. His blue skin had a sickly pale tone from stress and lack of sleep. "Our sensors are ready. The moment the humans arrive, we will know," reported his second-in-command. Zartek nodded. "These primitive humans will soon learn the power of our united forces." His words sounded confident, but his 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of extreme anxiety among his species. On the observation deck, junior officers from various species gathered to watch. Many had never seen real combat. "I heard humans can survive in gravity that would crush us," whispered a young Zentari. "I heard they evolved from predators that hunt in packs," replied his friend. A red alert suddenly blared throughout the fleet. Contact. Multiple vessels emerging from faster-than-light travel. The human 7th Fleet appeared in perfect formation. 7 large warships surrounded by smaller vessels. At the center was the U.S. Intrepid, nearly twice the size of the largest Confederation ship. Confederation sensors lit up with warnings. The energy readings from the human vessels were off the charts, particularly from the Intrepid. On the bridge of the U.S. Intrepid, Captain Martinez stood calmly as his crew reported. "Confederation fleet detected, Captain. 100 vessels in defensive formation. Life signs. Multiple species. Approximately 40,000 individuals." Martinez nodded. "Open communications on all frequencies. Use the translation matrix Dr. Wilson developed." Daniel Gray, at the communication station, spoke into his headset. "This is the United Earth ship Intrepid. We come in peace seeking dialogue. Please respond." The message traveled across space to the Confederation fleet. On Zartek's flagship, a young communications officer received the transmission. His hands shook as he tried to translate. "Sir, the humans are sending a message," he reported. "What does it say?" demanded Zartek. The officer hesitated. "It's difficult to translate precisely. Something about strength, dialogue, and submission." Zartek's face hardened. "They want us to submit." "I knew it." He turned to his weapons officer. "Target their lid ship. All vessels, prepare to fire." Aboard the Intrepid, Daniel frowned. "Captain, I'm not getting a clear response. Their communications seem confused." "Keep trying," Martinez ordered. "And launch the communication drones, 1 to each of their larger ships." Small, unarmed drones shot from the Intrepid toward the Confederation fleet. Each carried translation devices and peace messages in multiple formats. Zartek saw the drones on his view screen. "They're launching weapons. All ships, open fire." Energy beams and missiles streaked across space toward the human fleet. The first impacts struck the shields of the Intrepid in a dazzling display of light. "Shields holding at 95%, reported the defense officer. "No damage." Martinez's face was grim. "So they want to do this the hard way." He pressed a button on his chair. "All ships, defensive protocol Omega. No offensive fire unless directly ordered." Throughout the human fleet, advanced shield systems activated. The Confederation weapons continued to strike but caused minimal damage. On the Confederation flagship, panic spread as officers reported in. "Sir, our weapons are having almost no effect." "How is this possible?" Zartek demanded. "Sir, the human vessels are not returning fire," another officer noted with confusion. Zartek stared at the view screen where the human fleet remained in formation, absorbing punishment without response. "What are they waiting for?" he wondered aloud. On the Intrepid, Martinez watched the continued assault with growing frustration. "Any progress with communications?" Daniel shook his head. "Still trying, sir." "Wait, one of our drones has successfully docked with a Zentari ship. We're establishing the direct link." For the first time, a clear communication channel opened between the two fleets. The battle lines were drawn, but perhaps there was still hope for understanding. "Put me through," Martinez ordered, straightening his uniform. The real test of humanity was about to begin. Hours passed as the battle raged in space. The Confederation ships fired constantly while the human fleet maintained defensive positions. The humans returned fire only when necessary to protect their most vulnerable points. On the Intrepid's bridge, Captain Martinez watched the tactical display with growing concern. "Shields down to 60%, reported the defense officer. "We can't stay defensive forever," said his second-in-command. Martinez nodded grimly. "Any progress with communications?" Daniel Gray looked up from his station. "We have partial contact with 3 Zentari ships. Their language structure is closest to our own. They seem confused about why we aren't destroying them." "Keep working on it," Martinez ordered. In the fighter bay, pilots rushed to their ships. Lieutenant Paul Adams, a young pilot with sandy hair, climbed into his fighter. His hands moved quickly over the controls. "All fighters, defensive formation only," came the order through his headset. "Protect the fleet but minimize damage to enemy vessels." Paul launched into space, his small fighter darting between larger ships. The battle was chaos around him. A Confederation cruiser fired on him, and he rolled his fighter to avoid the blast. "They really don't know what they're doing," he muttered. The alien ships had power but lacked tactical skill. Suddenly, his sensors detected a Confederation ship with failing engines drifting toward the crossfire between 2 larger vessels. The ship was small, likely a medical vessel based on its configuration. Without hesitation, Paul changed course. "Control, I'm moving to assist a damaged enemy vessel." Lieutenant Adams, "Return to formation," ordered his squadron leader. Paul ignored the command. His fighter raced toward the drifting ship. "I can push them out of the crossfire with my tractor beam," he reported. As Paul maneuvered his fighter, a stray shot from another Confederation ship hit his vessel. Warning lights flashed across his controls. "I'm hit, but systems are functional," he reported. His fighter shuddered as he activated the tractor beam, slowly pushing the alien ship to safety. Another hit struck his fighter. "Engine core damage." "Containment failing," his computer announced. Paul made a quick decision. He pushed the alien ship clear with a final burst from his thrusters, then aimed his damaged fighter away from all vessels. His last message was simple: "Tell them we tried to help." The fighter exploded in a bright flash that was seen by ships on both sides. On a Zentari cruiser, Commander Vostal watched in disbelief. "The human pilot sacrificed himself to save our medical ship," he told his officers. "Why would an enemy do that?" The Zentari commander made a decision. He opened a channel to his fleet. "Cease fire on my authority." Aboard the Intrepid, Daniel's console lit up. "Captain, we have clear communication with a Zentari commander. They've stopped firing and are willing to act as translator." Martinez didn't waste the opportunity. "Open a channel to the Confederation flagship." On the main view screen, the blue face of Zartek appeared, with the Zentari commander beside him. "This is Captain John Martinez of Earth. We came seeking peaceful contact, not war," Martinez said clearly. The Zentari translated, and Zartek's 4 eyes widened in surprise. "If you wanted peace, why come with warships?" Zartek asked through the translator. "Because twice before, our peaceful ships were fired upon," Martinez answered. "We needed to survive long enough to talk." As they spoke, Martinez nodded to his weapons officer. "It's time for a demonstration." The Intrepid turned slightly, aiming at an uninhabited moon nearby. A beam of energy shot from the ship, and the small moon simply vanished in a cloud of dust. The translator wasn't needed to convey Zartek's shock. "We could have done that to your ships at any time," Martinez said quietly. "Instead, we lost good people trying to save yours." The message was clear. The humans could have destroyed the Confederation fleet but chose restraint. "Perhaps," Zartek said slowly, "we should talk." A ceasefire was called as both sides agreed to meet. The turning point had been reached, not through superior firepower, but through a single act of sacrifice. 1 week after the battle, representatives from Earth and the Confederation met aboard a neutral station. The circular chamber had been specially prepared with different gravity and atmospheric zones to accommodate all species. Captain Martinez stood beside Ambassador Nicole Taylor, a tall woman with silver-streaked black hair. Across from them sat Zartek and other Confederation leaders. Between the groups stood Dr. Leela Brown, acting as cultural translator. "We regret the misunderstandings that led to loss of life," Ambassador Taylor began. "Humans do not seek war." Leela translated not just the words but the cultural context. The Confederation representatives shifted nervously in their seats. "Your weapons and ships tell a different story," replied a Zentari elder. Captain Martinez stepped forward. "Our weapons exist because we had to survive. Earth is not like your worlds." Dr. Kate Wilson activated a holographic display showing Earth. "Our homeworld has higher gravity, harmful radiation, extreme weather, and evolved thousands of predator species." The aliens watched in growing horror as the presentation showed Earth's natural disasters, predators, and harsh conditions. "Any of your species would die within days on our planet without special protection," Kate explained. "We humans evolved to survive there." "Impossible," whispered a Vraxian scientist. "To understand humans," Leela continued, "you must understand that our entire history is shaped by overcoming challenges that would kill most Confederation species." Ambassador Taylor showed images of human achievements, cities, art, medicine, and space exploration. "Despite our harsh world, we built civilizations. We explored space not to conquer, but to connect." A new understanding slowly spread through the room. These humans weren't monsters. They were survivors. In the station's observation lounge, Colonel Baker stood with Zartek, both watching the stars. "In all honesty," Baker said, "what you witnessed in the battle was minimal force by our standards." Zartek's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "Your Lieutenant Adams died saving our medical ship. Why would he do that?" Baker smiled sadly. "Because that's who we are when at our best. We protect life, even our enemies." Days passed as negotiations continued. Technical teams from both sides shared information. In engineering labs, Sam Cooper worked alongside alien engineers who marveled at human technology. "Your power systems are incredible," said a Zentari engineer. Sam shrugged. "We had to be efficient to survive. Limited resources on Earth pushed us to innovate." In a quiet moment, Captain Martinez sat with Zartek, sharing a meal. "I still do not fully understand humans," Zartek admitted. "We don't always understand ourselves," Martinez replied. "We can be violent when threatened, yes, but we're capable of great compassion too." On the final day in the Grand Chamber, a treaty was signed. Humans would join the Confederation with a special status. Humans are classified as a protected species. Read the document, not for their protection, but for the safety of all others. In the months that followed, carefully managed cultural exchanges began. On a Confederation world, alien children played in a park. A single human child joined them, teaching them Earth games. Nearby, alien parents watched nervously as the human child easily lifted toys that their children struggled with. An old Zentari philosopher observed the scene with Captain Martinez. "For millennia, we thought we were alone in the darkness of space," the elder said. "We never imagined we needed to fear the dark less than what might come from the light." Martinez smiled. "We humans have a saying. It's better to have dangerous friends than dangerous enemies." The elder nodded. "Indeed, and the galaxy will never be the same now that we know about Earth." As the U.S. Intrepid prepared to return home, Martinez looked at the stars from his viewport. First contact had been messy and bloody, but understanding had finally been reached. The humans from the Death World had found their place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as protectors. The most dangerous species had become the most valuable allies.